In this video I'm going to show you how to make your own little DIY beanbag frogs. You can hand sew them or machine sew them, and in this tutorial we're going to use the machine. So the first thing you need is some fabric. I'm going to use a nice felt because it doesn't fray, and you're going to need my template. Don't worry, there's a free template and you can just get it from my website. The link's on the screen and in the description below. And you're just going to need some eyes. Now you could use little safety eyes that fasten on with either a metal or a plastic back, which are great, or perhaps you'll use some felt and sew your felt or stick your felt on. When thinking about eyes, think about who your beanbag's for and make sure it's safe for whoever's going to use it. You can see this one has been hand sewn with a blanket stitch, and I'll put a link down below and on the screen so you can see a tutorial how to do blanket stitch if you want to hand sew yours. So we're going to carry on as if we're using the machine because that's what we're going to do. So start by cutting out your template, and then you're going to get your felt, and you want 2 layers because you want to cut out a top and a bottom for your frog, and then pin your template on. I tend to use each of the limbs and his head just so that it doesn't move around. And then once you're happy it's secure, we're going to draw around the frog template. Oh, if you like my pin cushion, there's a link in the description below and on the screen now showing you how to make one of those. You'll be amazed what's inside that pin cushion. So what you're going to do is draw around your frog. Now I'm using something called tailor's chalk because I've got dark coloured felt. If you've got a light coloured felt, you could probably just use a pen. It really doesn't matter, just something to get that outline in place. Because if you're doing these by hand, you're going to cut out around your template and then do that blanket stitch around the outside. If you're doing them on the machine, I don't recommend you cut them out, which is why we draw around the template. And then you can remove your template and you'll have your frog shape. Now before we think about sewing, we need to put our eyes on. Be very, very difficult once you've sewn it. So mark where you want your eyes. You can put them where I've marked them or put them where you like. Get creative. This is your frog. You don't have to follow exactly what I do. So if you're using safety eyes, you're going to have to cut small holes and then poke the eyes through. Now my apologies, I've gone off the screen here. Sometimes it's really difficult for me to see what I'm filming. But if you've used safety eyes before, you'll know you need the tiniest little hole just so the shaft goes through, and then you poke it through. And do that for them both and then push your backs on. If you're doing felt eyes, just sew them or glue them on. But whatever you're doing, make sure those eyes are on before you start sewing. So once your eyes are in place, you're going to pin your 2 layers together. Now what you will find if you've used safety eyes is it's a little bit tricky at the top. So then I do recommend you just pin the fabric beyond the frog as well, just to hold it in place. And it's just because the shafts on the back of the eyes are pushing the layers apart. And then it's over to the machine. So remember, we're leaving the bottom of the frog open. So then you're going to set yourself off sewing. Now I recommend 1/8 of an inch inside your line that you've drawn. So sew a little way and then a reverse just to secure the end. And then you're off. And just work your way gradually around the whole shape. Now I've sped this up, but what I recommend is you take it nice and slowly. If you take it slowly and feed it, you should get nice curves instead of any points on your legs. Obviously you can lift the foot and turn where you do want a point at the bottom of your head, and then keep working your way round. If you're enjoying this video, please give me a thumbs up below and subscribe if you want to see more. And then once you get to the end, remember to leave the bottom of the frog open. Don't go all the way back to your other stitches. And a little reverse. And then out of your machine. Huge confession here. Completely forgot to turn the camera on while I cut the frog out. So now you need to cut around your frog along the line that you drew. So you'll get a nice little 1/8 of an inch around the edge of your stitches. And he now looks like a frog, but we need to fill him. So if you've got a little funnel, that's ideal. If not, get yourself a piece of paper and form a cone just to push into the end. Otherwise it's really difficult to get your filling in. I'm using lentils just because I like them. I think they're small and they make a nice bean bag. You could use small beans, rice, or you could even use the proper poly little pellets that you can buy. There is a link in the description below if you're wondering what I'm talking about. If you want to make your bean bags to sell, you know, you've got to make sure everything's right if you're thinking of going down that route. But if, like me, you're just making them and you want to use the items you've got in your kitchen cupboard, then rice, lentils, small beans are great. So do not fill your bean bag so it's tight and stuffed. You want to about half fill it. And the basic test is, can I still fold my frog in half so he sits up? And all you can do is just take your funnel out, hold the gap closed and have a little try and see what you think. Because you've really just got to gauge it for yourself. And then when you're happy and you've got enough in there, just pin it closed, just to hold it so you don't lose any of your filling. And then back to the machine to sew that bottom. So you could sew a little way and do a little reverse and go along and then do the same at the other end, or because it's so short you could simply sew from one end of your stitches to the other and then reverse all the way back and just do the whole thing as a reverse. It's up to you, but make sure you do join up at both ends to the sewing that you've already done. You don't want any of those small lentils or whatever you've used to escape. So this is just making sure it really is secure. And then this time when you come off your machine, you're all done. You should have a small beanbag frog. Just take a few moments to push all the beans into all the limbs, and there you've got your cute frogs. So I hope you'll enjoy making more, and remember, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe, and enjoy your frogs.